Hello and welcome to your business fundamentals training. The 7 deadly cash flow sins. Could they be killing your business? If you've ever asked yourself, where's all the cash? Then this free training event is for you. And I've got to tell you, I am really excited. Why am I excited? Because honestly, learning the 7 deadly cash flow sins is so impactful and it is so multi-purpose. Okay, so this is a how-to guide. This is a way to diagnose what you are doing in your business. Yeah, I'm going to show you how to score where you're at with every sin. Yeah, and I'm going to encourage you to use this how-to guide over time, over the next 12 months in your business, because I can tell you right now that any transformation, true transformation in your business takes a lap around the sun. It takes 12 months, okay? So over the next 12 months, little by little, as you put one foot in front of the other in the direction of done, I'm going to encourage you, no excuses, to absolutely go about in each 7 area, making sure that you're a 10 out of 10, that you're not committing the sin and you're setting yourself up for optimal profit and optimal cash. Okay, so I could go on about this forever, but let's get cracking. So first of all, I'm Jeannie. I am the Strategic Bookkeeper. Okay, so I am the head of the Strategic Bookkeeper Network. You can see my awards here. I am currently, at the time of running this event, I am Women in Finance Australia Innovator of the Year, and I am a multi-award winning strategic bookkeeper, entrepreneur, and high-end business strategist. So I am pleased to provide you with this high-impact business fundamentals training on behalf of your certified strategic bookkeeper. Your strategic bookkeeper has been part of many business success stories and would love to be a part of yours too. My strategic bookkeepers go beyond basic bookkeeping services in order to give you the support you've been waiting for. I know that many business owners are asking themselves, what does my bookkeeper really do for me? What does my accountant really do for me? And that's what this is about. It's going beyond Numbers 101 to actually give you the support you need to build your dream business and life. And I am going to right now unashamedly encourage you to fire your bookkeeper and hire a strategic bookkeeper. Yeah, you won't win the game without a winning team. And the first person you need to put on your team is a strategic bookkeeper, said every business strategist worth their salt, including me. Okay, so even if your bookkeeper is currently you, I am going to encourage you to fire your bookkeeper and hire a strategic bookkeeper. All the strategic bookkeepers in my network are personally certified by me. You'll find that all the bookkeepers in my network are platinum bookkeepers. What that means is they offer a platinum level of service unmatched by any other, okay? So you can reach out to your certified strategic bookkeeper to find out more about them, but you will find trust, reliability, and service, and that they are professionally licensed and insured. You'll also find out about their reputation. This is a little about our reputation working with clients as well. So reach out to your certified strategic bookkeeper and inquire about their 5-star results and their 5-star reputation. Our vision for you as strategic bookkeepers, our vision for you is something that we are crystal clear on, and that is optimal business performance, prosperity, and peace of mind. Optimal business performance is about profit and cash, which we like to call oxygen for your business. We firmly believe in prioritizing and maximizing these aspects should be your first priority. Once your business is performing optimally, you will begin to prosper. And I want you to think of that as being time rich, okay? Once the profit and cash is there, that is like oxygen. We want to help you with that time wealth. Now, We also understand through experience that peace of mind is priceless. As experienced business owners, we empathize with the need for clarity and control over your business operations. We recognize that financial management plays a significant role in providing this peace of mind. Rest assured, we will guide you towards a greater understanding of and mastery of your finances, ensuring you can sleep soundly at night. You can't put a price on that. So to achieve that vision, and I'll go back for a minute. So our vision: optimal business performance, profit and cash, prosperity, which is the time, wealth, and peace of mind. How the heck are we going to help you achieve that? Well, that is through our mission, okay? So to achieve that vision, we're on a mission. And it is simple, but it is clear and it works. So that is to provide you with up-to-date, accurate bookkeeping, plus the education and support you need to build your dream business and life, okay? So those up-to-date, accurate numbers, also known as bookkeeping, plus education, plus support equals the magic that happens, okay? But what is strategic bookkeeping and what's in it for you? Well, I created strategic bookkeeping about 13 years ago when I was working with a client. It is simple, but it is so powerful. And way back then, I helped a client pull an extra $250,000 out of their business. Today, I've seen results of an additional 7 figures that we've achieved in as little as 6 months. Mind blowing, okay? Successful business owners know and use their numbers in decision making. So how well do you know your numbers? Yeah. So up-to-date, accurate bookkeeping is globally recognized as pillar 1 for the success of any business. And we call that numbers 101. Okay. So you can see here numbers 101, that's bookkeeping. That's up-to-date, accurate numbers. And that's the first pillar. With numbers 101 sorted, now it's time to maximize your profit, cash, and time, wealth. And that, my friends, is this 5-step methodology, which is strategic bookkeeping. Okay, that is numbers 101, numbers knowledge, which is a journey, numbers strategy, which is a real management accounting piece. Okay, numbers targets. So what does optimal profit and cash in your business look like? Well, there is a methodology, and data and metrics for working that out. And then monitoring your actual results so we can compare them to your target and help you make the decisions and the action plan needed to move the needle from your actual to your targeted. Okay, so on average, our clients get a 10x return on their fees through strategic bookkeeping, which is why bookkeeping alone, numbers 101, is a cost, always will be. Yeah, it's a grudge purchase. Strategic bookkeeping is not a cost at all. It's free. And that is because it's an investment. And that's why I get so excited. Okay. So I just want to touch on how we work. So the entire strategic bookkeeper network. All right. So all of us and how we work. And I love this model because it so well explains it. So over here, you can see, I'm just going to move a little thing here. So you can see these are the 5 main problems that entrepreneurs are facing when they're kind of alone in the wilderness and, feeling like they need help. So they're behind on the books. They're in the dark about their numbers. They're struggling to understand it all. They're stuck in the grind and they've got low profit and cash. So profit and cash is not stacking up. I also call this behind, blind, and stuck in the grind. Okay. So you can see our strategic bookkeeping model up here. And this is the journey, the 4-step process we take you on to go from these problems to these payoffs, which is up to date, numbers in your pocket, educated, off the tools, and pulling that time, money, and freedom out. Okay. Even as a strategic bookkeeper, guess what? I've got a strategic bookkeeper who does this for me as well. So we plan, we prioritize, we get you to progress. This is the progress, everything's working well. And that's when numbers 101 is sorted, because that's the first thing we need to do. And then once we've got that sorted, we can give you the power through strategic bookkeeping and more to build your dream business and life. And it's what my network is doing all over the world, okay, with entrepreneurs just like you. All right, so our next hour together, or this hour, so this is all about the 7 deadly cash flow sins. We're going to go beyond the pages of the how-to guide, and you may have this and have already read it. If you haven't, that's okay too. Okay, so I'm going to show you the sins, and I'm going to get you to score yourself in each. We're going to look at how to avoid them, and in this recording, there's not going to be an opportunity for Q&A, but you're going to be able to book a results call with your strategic bookkeeper, so that she or he can go through your business health check and can give you personal recommendations and answer any questions that you've got. Okay, so we've got all that support there for you in order to give you value to help you do better in business. And that's all at no cost, so that you can really self-assess your demand and desire to go further and work with your strategic bookkeeper. Okay, so the truth is no less the truth when it's hard to hear. Goodness gracious, that is true. And the truth is that 80% of small businesses go broke in their first 5 years. Yeah, that is a global statistic. Many entrepreneurs will never earn as much as they could in a job. If your books are not right up to date, if you're not investigating your numbers monthly, these are your top 2 priorities right now. Okay, I cannot stress that enough, but I won't harp on about it. And to rinse and repeat just for a moment, it is globally recognized that pillar 1 for the success of any business is up-to-date, accurate bookkeeping. So why is that? And let me tell you, that is not my rule of the game. That is the rule of the game. Phone 3 accountants at random and ask them, is up-to-date, accurate accounting records pillar 1 for success? And they will say, even if they haven't thought about it, they'll go, well, actually, yes. So why is it pillar 1? Because the up-to-date numbers, that's the only way you can see how your business is performing in terms of profit and cash. You cannot view how your business is performing by looking at the bank account, a mistake that causes many business dreams to become nightmares. So one of the reasons that we see this shocking statistic is because it's called running the business on the bank account. So entrepreneurs are focused on sales, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And they look at the bank account, and there's some money in the bank account, and they're managing to get by and pay the bills, and they think everything's okay. And I can tell you, I've worked with these businesses regularly, and unfortunately what they don't know is they've gone broke doing business. That is a phrase, but we'll touch on that more as we go. And as I said, you can absolutely, and I encourage you to book that results call with your strategic bookkeeper so that they can go into it more. So if you need to pause this video training and make some notes, write some things down, like, I really need to know more about that, or I don't really understand that, do that, because you're going to have the opportunity to ask your certified strategic bookkeeper. Okay, so here are the 7 deadly cash flow sins: sales expenses, receivables, payables, inventory, and owner drawings and obligations. It's an acronym. It spells out Serpico. Okay. So the first deadly sin is sales. And so around sales, are you focusing on top line revenue as the most important number in your business? So a second ago, I said entrepreneurs, like the entrepreneurial journey, entrepreneurs tend to be technically good at whatever they're good at. Like, let's take a plumber, for example. So they're a great plumber, they've been top of their field, and they decided, you know what, I want to go out and I want to do this for myself. I want to have all the rewards for myself. But the truth is, the skills and experience required to run a successful business are vastly different to the skills and experience required to be a good technician, whether you're a plumber, whether you are an electrician, whether you are an architect, no matter what you are, okay? And the entrepreneur's journey it tends to be to believe that the most important thing is just to make sales, okay? And that is a deadly sin that if you believe that, it's going to kill your business, yeah? So what I want you to do is I want you to score yourself. So if you have held that belief, that misconception, that the most important thing to focus on is the revenue, and if you keep making lots of sales, then that's how you're going to grow and you're going to thrive and the profit will all happen and the cash will all happen, then your score would be 0. Okay, so or are you focusing on net profit? That is the profit first approach. So net profit and positive cash flow, because you can be profitable, but your cash flow can send you broke. Yeah. And I don't expect all of this to make sense all at once, because this journey of numbers knowledge is a journey, okay? And it's a journey that I expect to take 12 months. And that's why I'd love you to work with a strategic bookkeeper. But basically, if you are focusing on net profit and positive cash flow as the most important numbers in your business, then you can score yourself a 1, okay? So I need you to decide whether you're going to score a 0 or a 1. There's nothing in between to keep it simple. Now, I want to let you know that I met a restaurateur recently who told me for the number of people through on a Sunday, we need to double the revenue. To which I suggested, why revenue? You could reduce your cost of sales and double your profit. The restaurateur was speechless. And I could tell you more about that story. Okay, it had to do with cost of sales. But revenue is vanity. Profit is sanity. And cash is king, my friends. Okay, so think about the questions that you have there so you can ask your certified strategic bookkeeper when you catch up with her or him. The next deadly sin is around expenses. Okay, so are you looking thoroughly at your expenses each month on the profit and loss to capture redundant subscriptions? I can't tell you how much money that is burning. Redundant subscriptions, when you subscribe to something but you didn't realize it was on ongoing subscription. Even I have been caught out by that one many times. Okay, so are you thoroughly looking at your expenses each month to capture redundant subscriptions, reduce and amalgamate costs, and monitor expenses as a percentage of revenue based on your industry benchmarks? Okay, so if you're doing that, yes, score yourself 1. If you're not doing that, please score yourself 0. In 12 months, strategic bookkeeping helped Sam reduce his expenses by $240,000, putting him back in the black to pull 6-figure profits and lots of time wealth out of his 24/7 gym. That's a real life story. So before we move on, just a reminder to write your questions down. If any of this doesn't make sense, you're in good company, yeah? Your job primarily is to be great at what you do. You will not win the game of business without a winning team. And as I said, this comes from a high-end business strategist. And that strategist said the first person you need to put on your team is a strategic bookkeeper, okay? I can tell you the second person is usually an admin ninja. Okay, so the next deadly sin is around receivables, okay? Now, anyone can sell something for nothing, says me. Women in Finance Australia Innovator of the Year. It's my quote, but I did borrow it from my dear mother. My family were iconic entrepreneurs. I helped them grow their business from 10 to 100 million. And that was my mother's quote. Anyone can sell something for nothing. Sadly, I see this sin cause lots and lots and lots of businesses to go broke, okay? So in terms of your customer invoicing and collection systems, you're not a bank, so don't act like one. Invoice promptly and collect money immediately before delivery of products and services, okay? Remove barriers for your customers to pay by taking credit card and smart automated systems. When I see entrepreneurs like tradies that turn up to my house and click, 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 boom, they're not afraid to ask for the money. They invoice me there and then. They have me click a few buttons. They might even get me to do a review. I am just like, the heavens have opened, because honestly, this is one of the main ones, okay? So how are you going with receivables, yeah? If you're doing all of this perfectly, I want you to score yourself 1. Yeah. If there's room for improvement, you need to score yourself 0, because that's going to help me and help you and help your strategic bookkeeper to really understand where you're at. So there's no in between score. You're either getting it all right or there's room for improvement. So please score yourself with a pen and paper so we can add this all up at the end. Okay, so let's move on to payables. So the next deadly sin is around payables. So that's like the bills, okay? So if receivables is sales, yep, then bills is payables is the bills. So people you need to pay, okay? So we call this accounts payables versus accounts receivables, which again, this is real bookkeeper speak or account speak. So if it doesn't make 100% sense to you, please know that you're in good company as an entrepreneur. So let's run through this one. So I once met a stressed out furniture factory owner, lovely guy. He was running a highly profitable business that was always running out of cash, putting him at risk of shutting up shop. Yeah. He was paying his staff weekly on a Monday, whereas he should have been paying them fortnightly on a Thursday, which would have given him 10 more days of cash in the bank and a better night's sleep. Okay. So in terms of paying out money, so this one is bringing in money. Yeah. This one is paying out money. And in the 7 Deadly Cash Flow Sins book, I talk about the need to try and receive all the money from people, receive the money from the people before you pay money out to all the people. Yeah. So that is to your staff, to the tax office, to suppliers, to anyone who you are obligated to pay. Okay. So are you paying everyone around you before your customers pay you? Or are you paying out after you get all the money in? And this one can be really triggering. You might be thinking, well, I can't do that. I have to run accounts. Okay. So I want you to take a moment. Yeah. And I want you to take everything that you know, everything that you think you know, and I want you to literally with your hands, I want you to imagine that everything that you know is sitting in front of you right now. And I want you to take your hands and I want you to sweep it to the left-hand side and then visualize a blank space. Because if you can come to me without saying, I know, or I can't, or excuses, because anything less than, I can do this, I'm listening, yes, I've got the information now, yes, I can take action, anything less than that. And when you say, I know, I can't, you are completely closing yourself off to new information, powerful action. And you'll never hear me say those phrases. Or if you do, I'm going to check myself. I'm going to be listening to myself and I'm going to be saying, who is that? Who are you? Right? So I know this one can be triggering because you might be saying to yourself, but I have to run accounts and I can't collect the money and nobody's going to take deposits. I've been there, done that with business owners, and I have transformed the way they work. And yes, I get it that some industries need to offer some accounts, but there are ways around things and there are ways that you can improve them. So think about your payroll. Yeah. Think about all the moving parts of how you pay money out. Yeah. And if you are not 100% optimal, like I am in my business, yeah, I'm 100% optimal when it comes to cash flow, then I want you to score yourself a 0. And I want you to consider opening yourself to real help. And the way to do that is to never ever say I know again, and know that the more you know, the more primed you are to get results, okay? But the phrase I know will close you to new information. So if there's room for improvement, I want you to score a 0, yeah? Versus if you are currently receiving all the money from your customers, that doesn't mean invoicing, that means receiving the money before you ever pay anyone, then you score 1, because that's what I do in my business. That's what I do in every business I run, okay? And that's what I help my clients with. So even though I could harp on about that, let's move on to the next deadly sin. So the next deadly sin is around inventory. So if you don't sell things in your business, if you sell services, this one's not relevant to you. But I grew up in an iconic retail family, so I understand this one. So if you sell things, if you sell products or inventories, are you selling your stock and collecting the money before you have to pay your suppliers? It's a really interesting question. So yes, score 1, no, score 0. You'll need to consider all the factors that influence cash flow risk when selling stock and inventory. Now, I go into this one more in the 7 Deadly Cash Flow Sins how-to guide, okay? So I'm not going to sit on this one anymore. In general, we find that we're working with service-based businesses and that this one doesn't apply. But if you sell inventory, pause this training and think about what that means to you, because it's actually the same as the last 2 slides, yeah? If you've got stock that sits on the shelf and doesn't get sold before a customer pays for it, Houston, you have cash flow pressure. That's what this is all about, okay? So think about this, score yourself, or if it's irrelevant to you, just forget about this particular sin. So on to the next cash flow sin, and this relates to cash. So at the beginning of this training series, I talked about the whole running your business on the bank account. And so we're diving a little more into this, okay? So the deadly sin around cash, it relates to the sin of running your business on the cash in the bank, okay? It's a big no-no. And I'm going to explain it with a bit of a real life story. So some time ago, I met lovely business partners, Drew and Andy. They'd been in business for a couple of years and neglected the books and some obligations along the way, which were catching up with them. They'd always had cash left in the bank accounts, so they presumed things must be okay. That said, Drew had a gut feeling that under the hood, things might be breaking down. And he was right. I brought the books up to date, and unfortunately, their obligations in tax and superannuation totaled more than $100,000. Their business had been turning a loss, and the money in the bank had fooled them into believing they were profitable, okay? Now, once again, I don't expect you to understand everything about this. So what I'm going to say is trust me now and believe me later. If you are looking at your bank account to try and see how your business is performing in terms of profit and cash, rather than looking at your financial statements, which is your profit and loss and your balance sheet, and realistically that's how you're running profit and loss wise on cash versus profit and loss wise on accrual. I won't get into what that looks like right now, but if you're looking at the bank versus these financial statements, which is what strategic bookkeepers are built to do, okay, so I need you to score yourself a 0. Okay, rather than a 1. If you are looking at your financial statements, your profit and loss, your balance sheet, both cash and accrual, and all the other parts of your financials to determine how your business is performing in terms of profit and cash, then you can score yourself a 1. Okay, and I want you to know that if you are running your business on the bank account, you're in good company. Yeah, you're one of 80% or more. Yeah, or more businesses that are doing this. And what do we know about 80% or more businesses? They shut up shop within 5 years, and even more of them will never earn more than they could in a good job, and their business dream becomes a nightmare, okay? So that's cash in the bank. Or I should say cash, as I said, as a deadly sin. Okay, So I think we're on to the last one. So owner drawings and obligations. All right. So let's look at this deadly sin. So I'm first going to read a quote from a client. So showing me that I was drawing out more cash than we had in net profit has been the most impactful part of this session. Okay, so that's from Renee, a happy client that one of our strategic bookkeepers does the strategic bookkeeping process with on a monthly basis. Okay, so they run a great business, it is profitable, but they didn't realize that they were drawing more cash for themselves as husband and wife than they were making in net profit. And that's because when you draw, so I might even go through that here. So many entrepreneurs are taking a drawing rather than putting themselves through the payroll, which is sometimes necessary depending on the structure you trade through. For example, one of my businesses, I trade through a trust, and another one I trade through a company. So when I trade through the trust, I have to take a drawing. When I trade through the company, it goes through wages. So are you ensuring that the money you draw out of the business monthly does not exceed your net profit minus money you need to reserve for obligations that don't appear on your profit and loss statement, like loan repayments and employee entitlements? Now, this is pretty much strategic bookkeeping stuff. Yeah, it's management accounting stuff. So if it doesn't make sense, that's okay. Yeah, I don't recommend that you go and become an accountant or you become a strategic bookkeeper. I recommend that you keep honing the craft that you're honing, and then you build the winning team around you, because that's how you're going to win the game. Okay, so what I will tell you is that, for example, when I run one of my business out of a trust and I take a drawing, that money doesn't appear on the profit and loss. So I cannot see how it affects the net profit unless I understand how to go and look at the balance sheet, how to look at what I've drawn out, how to make sure it doesn't exceed the net profit, and how to make sure that my loan repayment on my car and so on, there's still money left in those because they're on the balance sheet. Yeah, not the profit and loss, so that I don't end up scratching my head and wondering why I'm actually not leaving enough cash in the business, yeah, to keep it viable, okay, and more, and profit. Okay, so yet again, this is one where you could talk to your strategic bookkeeper and get more information in that results call. So I need you to score yourself a 1 or a 0. So if you are doing this perfectly, score yourself a 1. If you're like, holy cow, I don't really know what you're talking about, or I definitely don't check that, then score yourself a 0. That's going to help me. It's going to help you. It's going to help your strategic bookkeeper. Okay, so now that we've come to the end of the actual deadly sins, let's take stock of kind of where we are and think about your score. So you've looked at all the sins, you've got a bit of information. I've made you aware that you're not meant to, or you don't need to fully understand everything, okay? Because there can be, for entrepreneurs, for anyone, a bit of a shame around, I don't quite get all this stuff. And this is accounting, yeah. And so you're not going to get it in 2 seconds. But as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, absolutely you need to know and use your numbers. All right. So as I've said before, the best way, or the way that I recommend that you do that, is simply put a strategic bookkeeper on your team. And what I would also say about that is that even though I am the strategic bookkeeper and I am a very skilled management accountant, I still have a strategic bookkeeper that does it all with me. Because when I wear the entrepreneur hat, when I wear the business owner hat, it's very hard to do it for myself. So I value it that much, okay? So how did you go? How did you score? Yeah, so how did you score in each area? What action do you need to take? And how we can help. So in terms of your scoring, if you know that you scored a 0 in each area, there's room for improvement. Well, what does room for improvement mean? Well, room for improvement really means that there's room to optimize your profit, your cash, and then your time wealth. Okay, I like to say that time wealth is the privilege that comes after we make sure that the business can breathe, and oxygen for your business is profit and cash. Okay, and I'll explain a little bit more about that in a second. So to rinse and repeat and refresh a bit on this concept of the oxygen for the business, because it is so important, and I'm so passionate because of business failure rates, yeah, and wanting to help as many businesses to avoid that, to succeed as possible. So in terms of that profit and cash being oxygen, and also in terms of knowing and using your numbers, I'm just going to hover over these two slides, which I did show you earlier, to explain it. And actually, thanks to the power of tech, I've just brought a couple more slides in. So in terms of profit and cash, so optimal business performance is first and foremost about profit and cash. Yeah, the profit and cash isn't there, well, nothing else is going to happen. Yeah, so that's why I like to call it oxygen for your business. A lot of management accountants might just say cash is oxygen, but cash without profit, the business doesn't operate either. Okay, so from my point of view, it's the profit and the cash. And a business that has profit but no cash flow will also shut up shop. So the two combined is what you need to get right in order to have the pulse of your business strong. Yeah, the oxygen there. All right, so that's why we want to prioritize those things. Yeah, so once they're prioritized, which I'll show you what that looks like in a minute, then prosperity absolutely is time wealth, because you do with that time whatever you want to do with that time. Like for me, that's prioritizing my health, my physical, mental, spiritual health, time with my family, and so on. But I honestly believe that a massive part of prosperity is time wealth, and then I would go on to say that it's living into your purpose as well. And peace of mind, well, when you're in the dark about your numbers, when you've got that gut feel that there's something wrong under the hood, I know from experience that the cost of stress, the cost of anxiety, the cost of not having peace of mind, there's not much more in this world that has a higher cost. Okay, and I know that in terms of the value of peace of mind is very different to the cost. Yeah, cost and value are two very different things. So the next thing I want to help you understand about this profit and cash being oxygen, and also you knowing and using those numbers in order to get there, because how are you going to get there? Yeah, so you get there through the up-to-date accurate numbers. Yeah, so you need that first, is the only way you can see how your business is performing in terms of profit and cash. Yeah, okay, so that should be starting to make sense now. And then it's through committing to education. Yeah, so the education you need and the support you need. And I want to explain that a little bit more now. Yeah. I could send you to Google to start searching, and you would find that it is 100% true that successful entrepreneurs are continually educating themselves, and your education, your acumen, your ability, your knowledge, your skill set around your financials is something that you absolutely non-negotiable need to commit to. Yeah, and you need to have a level of acumen there. It's going to be different for everyone. Okay, so for example, different businesses I've worked with, I'm thinking of a restaurant, I'm thinking of like a massive business. Well, we were there as they did their meteoric rise from they're in the forestry industry to the best in Australia, so something quite unique there. And then, you know, I'm thinking of a plumber. The kind of business acumen, yeah, the expertise, knowledge that they need around financials and numbers differs significantly because the complexity of their numbers are different. Okay, so for example, a restaurant that I worked with, when I met them, they didn't know anything about their financials. Yeah. 2 years in, one of the owners was doing daily profit and losses so that he could absolutely look at staff costs and food cost of sales, which are really the two big things in a restaurant, especially if your rent's right. Okay, the forestry type business, at the beginning they had a lack of numbers knowledge. In the end, what I saw them achieve was something that a certified a chartered accountant would be doing. I was absolutely mind blown. Now, this happens one day at a time by committing to working with a strategic bookkeeper to slowly but surely go from zero to hero around what you need to know. You don't need to know double entry accounting, and double entry accounting is what a strategic bookkeeper absolutely specializes in. In fact, a bookkeeper is an accounting technician. Okay, so in terms of how you're going to optimize that profit and cash, well, you need these up-to-date accurate numbers. That's numbers 101. So that's your first job if your books are behind. You need to slowly but surely just learn a little bit more every day, every month about your numbers. And as I've told you the stories just then, there is a magic that will happen over time. Okay. The next thing is that you need to be able to read the numbers properly. So that's what we call numbers strategy. It's a real management accounting piece. But then in terms of optimizing that profit and cash, well, there is a formula for working out, which I talked about in the 7 Deadly Cash Flow Sins, for working out for your industry what you should be aiming for in terms of gross profit, net profit, and other key expenses. Okay, so once you know what you should be aiming for, then you know what optimal is. Okay, so there's actually a formula to work out what optimal profit for your industry looks like and what optimal cash flow for your industry looks like. Yeah, so we do that and we get clear on that and we've got the targets. And then what you absolutely need to do, non-negotiable, is sit down on a monthly basis and be held accountable to looking at those numbers, yeah, and going, right, here's the actual results in terms of revenue, gross profit, net profit, yeah. Here are the key expenses as a percentage of turnover, and here's how it all compares to what we know are the meaningful real targets in our business. And the gap in between is where you can make the decisions to take action, and that's an action plan, okay? And that will improve your cash, your profit, and everything else in your business and eventually allow you to scale your business. Yeah. And scaling your business is how you pull the time wealth out. Okay. And I'm not going to go heavily into that now, but it'll give you some food for thought. Okay, so we're very close to the end of this business fundamentals training. And so now it's time to think about what action you are going to take, okay? So let's move on. So please don't let fear, doubt, indecision, or people pleasing keep you stuck, because these really do keep a lot of people stuck. They've kept me stuck in the past. And one thing that I definitely know when I talk to my clients about is that entrepreneurs make hard decisions. Not some of the time, every time, and they do it fast. Successful entrepreneurs. When we make the hard decisions fast, everything just gets easier and everyone is happier. This I know from years and years of experience. Okay, so successful entrepreneurs don't always work harder than you, but they do make the hard decisions. That is just one of the something that if you can really take that in, because it's what I see is that this tendency to be a people pleaser, yeah, and not make the hard decisions. And I often say to clients, I won't always ask you to work harder. Yeah. Sometimes I'll ask you to work a little harder in the earlier days, but I will always be asking you to make the hard decisions. Okay. So don't let fear, doubt, indecision, or people pleasing keep you stuck. Absolutely, I'm going to encourage you to fire your bookkeeper and hire a strategic bookkeeper, even if your bookkeeper is you. You won't win the game without a winning team, and the first person you need to put on your team is a strategic bookkeeper, just like I have on my team. Set every business strategist worth their salt, including me, Women in Finance Innovator of the Year. So let's get down to tin tacks. If your books aren't right up to date, that's your first job. Okay, you have to get that done. And absolutely, one of the bookkeepers in my Strategic Bookkeeper network, your strategic bookkeeper who you may have received this training from, is optimally placed to help you get your books up to date because they have got my systems and processes. Yeah. And my systems and processes to get you up to date in the fastest, most efficient way possible are second to none. In fact, I even have a certification course that I give to bookkeepers on catch up and rectification that is absolutely game changing. And we have pre-insolvency firms always referring to our strategic bookkeepers because they are so superior with catch-up rectification work. Okay. The next thing is if you are not looking at your financials monthly, not the bank account, your actual financials, once your books are up to date, that's your second job. Yeah. So you've got two things on your action plan right now. Yeah. So what are you going to do in terms of taking action? Because you know, as well as I do, that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So let's look at that for a second, just a little bit more. So in terms of how your strategic bookkeeper can help, as I said, don't let inaction cost you everything because we've seen it cost many people everything. Okay. So you can book a results call with your strategic bookkeeper based on your business health check. Okay. Maybe your now future analysis, maybe just all the questions you've got from this business fundamentals training. And what you've learned today in this training, it is the fundamentals that you need to know and that you need to get right, not negotiable, in order to move forward, to grow, to scale, to thrive. Your strategic bookkeeper will provide you with how to connect with them. They'll also provide you with the health check, the 7 deadly sins how-to guide ebook, okay, so that you can continue the journey and continue to get value from them. That is a wrap on your business fundamentals training. I look forward to seeing you again soon.